You are extraordinary. You are incredible. God knows it, and the enemy of your soul does as well. The important thing is that you have to come to know it. If you were like many women I've encountered, there might have been a few things in your life that have made you doubt certain parts of yourself, that have made you pull away from certain parts of yourself. And I want you to know that those parts of you, that may very well be where your power, where your genius, where your iconicness lies. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. When I was about 9 years old, I started to hit puberty. I was transitioning from a girl's body into a woman's body at 9, 10 years old. I was still a child, but unfortunately, some of the experiences that I was having were not supposed to happen to children. I was fortunate in that I didn't have the worst of them, but I had enough to damage. And so I would walk back from school. I lived in Nigeria at the time, and I would get cat calls from men, and not just cat calls from men, but some men were wicked enough, and I'm going to call it wicked because you have no business with a child if you're a grown man, would actually attempt to touch me. And so walking back from school often felt scary. And I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell my mother, because I really didn't want to put any extra pressure on anyone. I'm the firstborn daughter, and I would walk back with my younger ones, and I was responsible for that. And I wanted to be responsible. I wanted to win. I wanted to be great. I wanted to be a good girl. And so I didn't share how scary and perhaps dangerous it was. I thank God that I was protected on those journeys. But I tell you, if you experienced anything like that, it might have told you that your body wasn't quite safe. And unfortunately, I experienced other things. One of the most notable things that I went through, and I never thought about it. It's only now that I'm a grown woman and actually a mother myself, and I went through therapy to really understand, wow, that really took a toll on me. When I was about 13, we experienced a home invasion. My parents weren't home. It was just the kids, right? And I'm the firstborn. And it happened because of me. That was something that was very hard for me to admit for a very long time. I was 12, 13. So in a sense, I should have been old enough to know better. And growing up in Nigeria, you're supposed to be sharp. But these men, they came dressed in this school uniform that my cousin used to go to that school. And I thought, oh, these are his friends, and they asked, can you please give us water? And I opened the door. My younger sister was very cautious and said, don't open the door. But I opened the door because I thought, they just want water. Let's just give them water. No sooner than we had made a little crack in the door, they pushed through and they brought out their guns. And the end result of that experience was quite traumatic for me. One of them took me upstairs, dragged me into my room at gunpoint, and he ordered me to take off my clothes. I don't know where I got the wherewithal, but I had prayed. We had a photo of Jesus on the staircase, and I prayed, I asked God, Jesus, help me. And something happened inside of me. I just started to scream, ole, 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 which is thief in Yoruba, and I lived in Lagos. And I was just screaming, and you could hear my neighbors beginning to hear me and shout, Tani, Kilonshe. They're like, what's going on? And you could hear them beginning to move around, and they were shouting in response, and I was screaming at the top of my lungs. Ole, and he got alarmed and he said, stop screaming, stop it, stop shouting. And he pulled out the gun and he pointed at me, if you don't stop shouting, I'm going to shoot you. I couldn't stop shouting. And he fired the gun. I've never seen a gun. That's the only time I've ever seen a gun. And for years, I never told anyone this part of the story. I thought I was going to die. And I think he did too. But I was still alive. And when I was still alive, I just started screaming even louder. I think I was hysterical, probably in shock. And he was so taken aback by the experience, he grabbed his pants, they was kind of hanging down, and he started to run out of the room. And you could hear my neighbors making noise, and I started screaming. I kept screaming, and I chased him out of the room. And my sister came out, the other people that were holding them in another room, everyone ran out. And suddenly, by the time they ran out of the compound, we collapsed into the driveway crying. That experience changed me. For years, I never talked about it. I didn't even tell my parents what happened, really. I didn't know that it was meant to toxify something. It fought two things in me. One was the instinct to be kind, because I believe God created me to be kind and loving in a peculiar way. It's part of what I bring to the work that I do. And for years, I held back a portion of myself. The other thing that it did was, along with all the other experiences I had had by this time, is it created a sense that it wasn't safe to really be in my body. And for years, I actually think that was part of why I gained a lot of, I always stayed a little bit heavier because I was almost hiding inside of it. And I tell you this story, not to just tell my story, but to ask you to think about your life. Are there things that have happened to you that perhaps have created a version of you that isn't quite who you really are? In Matthew 24, it says that a good farmer goes and sows good seed, but at night the enemy comes and sows tares, weeds among the wheat. And those tares can fight the wheat. But if you read the fullness of the story, the parable, it also says that the farmer in his wisdom waits until the time of harvest, and he gathers up the tares and he burns them. And so the wheat can be taken into the barn. There are many of us that have not yet gathered up the tares. Our wheat has grown, and we're trying to outgrow the tares, but the tares are still there. The tares are hindering our ability to be who God has called us to be. The tares are hindering our ability to really live out destiny. You see, you can perform. You can be successful. You can have great work. You can do a great job. You can have accolades. You can have a great title. You can perform a fantastic marriage. You can make everyone think that your life is #goals. But if you don't handle the tares, there's a part of you that you will never reconnect to. And that means that you will always be outside the original destiny and design for your life. And so I want to challenge you. Gather the tares. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it might cause you to look at things that you really don't want to look at. But gather the tares and burn them, that you may take the true wheat of your life and really have a harvest. The scripture says, I desire that you prosper even as your soul prospers. This is part of what it means for your soul to prosper. Listen, my name is Ekene. I'm the lead coach and the founder of Iconic Womanhood. This is the work of being iconic. This is the work of being the woman God has called you to be. This is the work that I do with women. I am not afraid to look at the places that people call the shadows, because God brings us all into the light. Call forth light in your life. Decide today who you are going to be. God designed you beautifully. Don't let the enemy sow those tares and let them remain. Walk with me on this journey and become the woman you are called to be. I look forward to connecting with you soon. Leave a comment, hit subscribe, share this, and let's keep talking.